I'm Nate Smith, curator of culture here at Wicked Weed, drinking a Cultura Blend 2 fruited on the porch with best friend Jen here. A lot of people on the hotline calling in want to know, how do we even meet? Like, the chemistry is just magnetic. To be honest, it was at an improv theater, Second City in Chicago.
I was gonna say, when the only two words coming out of your mouth are yes and,
Yes,
you really
and.
kind of lend yourself to a really eventful evening. So I'm Jen, I'm the lead blender for this hour program, and today we're having a little bit of Cultura Blend 2 with peaches on this lovely porch for something that we've come to know and love as beer portraits.
All right, guys, it's color, body, flavor, romance time for Cultura Blend 2, fruited with peaches. So immediately looking at this beer, this is a slightly hazier golden color than Cultura Blend 2 unfruited. Obviously, that's because we've got all these peaches in.
Pectin.
Damn
Look at that
near
shelf.
killed it.
Look at that shelf stable haze.
So for the body on this beer, due to the pectin in it, it's going to be a little bit of a creamier mouthfeel, would you say?
I mean, it's definitely creamy.
It's definitely creamy.
Definitely creamy.
So it still has that effervescence and that tartness, but it's going to be creamy as well. For flavor on this one, this is the amplified version of the citrus notes from blend number 2, amplified by that complementary fruit that is peaches from South Carolina. And which I think is really romantic, how we use that local agriculture to modify a local terroir product. And why don't you tell me more about that romance?
So this beer began like all of our Cultura blends and spontaneously fermented beer. If you're interested in learning more about that, check out our video about Blend 2. What I want to talk about is that this beer is Western North Carolina in a glass. And it also, I mean, we use the closest peaches that we could get our hands on. So they came from Titan Farms in South Carolina. They're pretty awesome. And they actually work with us to produce all of our kind of peach fruited beers. So Marina, Garcon, and this beer. So we select peaches to specification for whatever beer we're gonna make. And for this one, we just knew that we wanted to highlight local fruit, and it made a whole lot of sense to do it with peaches. So super passion fruity, tangerine, kind of base beer. Again, no fruit in that. Just absolutely devoured by 4 pounds per gallon of those South Carolina peaches. And fermented in oak, which is something that we don't do very often.
So Jen, you said fermented in oak, and a question that we get on the tours program a lot in relation to spontaneous beer. A lot of people think that fermentation is occurring in the cool ship, but I thought it was just inoculation occurring in the cool ship.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
So to be honest, when you look at beer in the cool ship, it's not that exciting unless you're, an optimist. So you're looking in there, there's no evidence of fermentation. It just looks like this beautiful, placid vat of wort. So there's no fermentation going on in there. We could use it as an open fermenter, which some of you might be familiar with, or like our saisons. But yeah, no fermentation happens there. It actually only sits in that vessel for about, I would say, 18 hours, maybe 16 to 18 hours. And then it gets sent into neutral oak. So that's oak that doesn't have our house bacterial culture. It's never held our beer before, or it has been sterilized. So you're getting a really kind of clean fermentation in regard to there's nothing going on other than the yeast and bacteria that are going on the night that we knock out beer into the cool ship. When I say that this beer was fermented in oak and fruited in oak, I'm actually referring to, we have these beautiful, they're all 600 hectoliter stackable, we call them the Brotots.
The Brotots.
The Brotots, or the Chads. They're a little thicker stave, they're horizontal, but they're not as large as a fooder. They just kind of behave like those. So we added fruit and some Blend 2 into maybe 5 or 6 of those individual oak vessels, and then blended them all back together again post-fermentation. It was really exciting to get to work with fresh oak, and I think complementary to the fruit that we were using, kind of boosting that woodiness of the peach really makes you feel like you're experiencing the whole fruit. And the other fruited variants for Cultura were blackberry and red muscadine. Blackberry especially as a fruit has a very woody component that fresh oak was super complementary. So that's fermentation in oak, I suppose. So all of the spontaneously fermented beers, the Cultura series, are 100% bottle conditioned. What that means is we introduce a small amount of sugar at package that is then re-fermented in bottle. So all of the carbonation that's generated through fermentation is then reabsorbed back into the beer. So that's where you're getting the effervescence, that's where you're getting the bubbles. And it also means that we're not losing any aromatics. So when we introduce peach and then we introduce sugar, package it still, we're not blowing off any of those aromatics through forced carbonation. It's very much captured in the bottle and very much captured in these glasses, very much captured on this porch.
For a beer portrait.
Beer portraits.